Hello there and welcome to Hump Day. It's Wednesday, welcome to Yosemite Valley, and today we are going to build the Grizzly Bear Habitat, part number 3 of 3. And today is finally the reintroduction area and the viewing platform. Yeah, it's actually quite a lot that is going into today's episode, so make sure to sit down, relax and enjoy this because it's going to be very interesting indeed. I have to talk you through, and unfortunately today there is no real-time part, mainly because I built this in yesterday's live stream on Twitch, and oh god, I said it, oh my lord, okay, this video is going to be very bad now. I don't care. Okay, so it's from the live stream yesterday, and it has been a wonderful live stream. I enjoyed it a lot, but also we were really productive, which is not always the case, but yesterday it was the case. So I already started on the next bit of Yosemite Valley. So that said, I cut at a certain point where this area is done. Well, kind of done. There's a little bit of foliage work still left open that goes into this specific habitat area in the front, but I will talk you through on the weekend, on Saturday, when I finally show you around in this Grizzly Bear Habitat final thing. But this will be also ready when we have brought in something new. Talking of which, I cannot do any polls anymore here on the video. They disabled this, unfortunately. So that means I need to do this now with you guys in the comments. So I need your input. So I started off doing some nature work for Saturday, and there will be one habitat going in before we go further. I'm not going to tell exactly what it is, but I want to know what we should do next. I have got 3 things on my agenda, I should say, and actually 2 of them are really close in terms of how much I favor them, and the third one is going to be, well, somewhat like I like it, but I don't need to do it. However, I'm not going to tell you which is which, because that would be boring, and I'm going to just name the 3, but trust me, they are in a different order than what I just meant. Okay, so number 1 is the wolf habitat. Timber wolves are the animals that most of you also required when we were asking for this last time. So you were talking a lot about timber wolves and also making like a wolf pack habitat. That would be cool. So yeah, this is one opportunity that we could go for, one option. The second one is the elephant house, a realistic African elephant house, and therefore also starting with the African area. That means we will open up an entire new area, which I think is also doable and also needed. So in case you are interested in that, this is the opening for the African area. And there's also a third option, which is more or less also opening Africa, but that is on the other hand side making a mixed African habitat with a giraffe, zebra, and maybe some antelopes and also the ostrich. So this is on the table, these 3 things, and I would love to know what you guys would favor. Let me know in the comments down below, or if you have anything else that you think is really important to you and you desperately want to see in here. And yeah, so let me know about this. That would be great. Now also, let me just quickly talk to you about this build over here. This is the more or less education building, which is not necessarily like a huge education building. This is the room where the education would take place in, and I went for a little bit of a design thing here. I wanted to test for a long time already, and these are these kind of sunken windows, if you want, little areas where you can put some stuff in. And honestly, I did put some flowers in here just to make sure that this looks nice. Made a little bit of a nice roof ceiling stuff here, just to make sure that it kind of has a bit of a context. And yeah, there is the education room in here, and you kind of need to have a registration to come here and then go for the education course. You can even maybe go inside somewhat the bear habitat with a security ride or whatever. That could be a thing. And then obviously this is yeah, just me putting in a bit more little details here and there just to make sure that this all looks nice together and just works. And yeah, overall I'm very happy with how this building turned out. To be very honest with you, this looks quite different from what I was thinking of at the very beginning, but then I went back to the drawing board, so to say, and after I built the main building and you guys come up with, you know, want to integrate that into the actual mountain, I thought about this building a bit more and how to do it, and I came up with this quite different approach with this tilted window or roof, open roof out of glass, so that people could watch through. It's for once it is a matter of security, so that people do not jump out here or jump in there or whatever, but I think it also is a matter of noise and of a viewing opportunity for the bears. So it is a reintroduction program, and you don't want to disturb the bears at all, but the people still want to see them in a way. So I thought it would be nice to give this building a bit more distance, a bit more separation from what it is. I mean, these bears in there are trained, or almost like they are left alone to be trained for the wilderness again. That means any contact to, or any avoidable contact to people is actually counterproductive, and we want to avoid this as much as possible. And so I went from an open tower design to this very closed off, bulky building that is just a raised platform, to be honest, but completely inside. And there are, to the raised area, there are it's not completely closed, but you have these shutters, these kind of, I don't even know, lattice, I think this is called, that kind of provides you still a view towards the reintroduction program, but this makes also sure that the animals cannot see the guests whatsoever, and also to make sure that there is a distance cap, that no one can throw anything down there. So this is also very important, because you don't want the people, the dumb people, to throw some trash in there or whatever. So all in all, this is something that you don't want to have at all in a zoo, but especially in the reintroduction program. That's not a good idea. It's not a cool thing. So yeah, I'm quite happy that this worked out exactly the way I was planning it is working out. And sometimes it's like I love when a plan works out. So this is actually cool. And yeah, obviously making the roof again pretty greenish and following what we have started in the last episode with the education. No, it's actually the viewing building, which to be fair is also not entirely done. I will sneakily do something off screen. I need to have I need to have a calm minute to make sure that this is exactly the way I want it. It's very tedious. It's nothing for a live stream, and it's nothing to make an episode on. So I will kind of fix this in between. Also, same goes for the foliage around there, because it's just very monotone, throwing down some bushes and stuff. I mean, which is literally now the second part of today's video, is a whole bunch of foliage work. But there's a very interesting thing in it. It's going to be a creek. We're going to build a creek, which I'm quite proud of. And I figured that Frontier changed one of those wonderful VFX effects, and this is the foam effect, which in the past, as far as I remember though, was not able to be tilted or rotated. You could rotate the VFX effect itself, but the visual effect didn't change direction. So I don't know if it was a mistake or if it was not just meant that way, but in fact it didn't work. But now it works, and you can finally have some tilted areas and use the effect. You will see this in a bit when we come to it in a bit. I'm just fixing some of the habitat here where the animals can escape, and yeah, I needed obviously to get in with the most natural looking barriers as possible, and just to make sure that it seems like they can roam around free, entirely free. And this will be achieved by rocks and trees and stuff, and just using their hitboxes. But now we are getting towards the creek, and as you can see, since this whole mountain phase over here is very tilted and very crazy, I needed to come up with a different technique to make sure that this creek seems to be embedded in the mountain and yet also has a little bit of a slope to it. Now what I did over here, I used the temple pieces because I figured they have a nice texture that can be used, and I used these pieces to draw out the line where I wanted to have the creek with different inclines, and then I can use the effects to make this look like water. You will see this in a bit. I think it really turned out to be looking beautiful. I mean, it definitely looks beautiful. I'm quite certain it does. Sometimes I'm not sure about what I do, but this time I'm quite happy that this worked out exactly as I had it in mind. I was trying to do it with real water, but since you cannot do any slopes, I mean that would be enormous if Planet Zoo could have some actual water in the game, realistic physically accurate flowing water in a game with a graphics engine like Planet Zoo, that would be huge. Is there any game out there that has it? I mean, I'm not talking about water like Minecraft, which is cool to be fair, but it's not like what I'm looking at. Is there any game out there? Do you know about this kind of stuff, guys? Is there a game that has like actual flowing water to it and it's not melting any computer? I don't know. I just would love to know. I really have no idea. I cannot imagine and even not think of one, but yeah. So you can see by changing the color now, it really almost looks like rock. And then I'm just putting these rocks in just to make sure that they blend even more nice. And you can see I just used the barrier over there to make sure that we can hold the water and have a nice transition into a waterfall, which will be part of the next video. I'm sorry to tease you here, but the waterfall is not part of today's video, so you have to come back on Saturday. And if you want to not miss out on that, make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. You know the drill, okay? So I'm stopping that already. It's not end of the video, so not do this now. But you can see I was always experimenting with like where to put the rocks to make sure that the animals cannot like physically escape, but in a way that still the habitat looks like they could potentially go into the wild. You know, that was the main idea, to make it look like as if the bear could go into the wild, but then again making use of the like ridiculously big hitbox in the game so that the animal cannot basically escape. They can see this is finally like 2/3 of the video gone. I finally managed to finish off the habitat in a way that they cannot escape, and that was the moment for me where I could finally start doing the water stream. As you can see, at this point I started to put down the foam, and I was realizing, hey, wait a second, it finally can be rotated and it works. And so I was like, okay, holy crap, that changes the world. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna use this thing now all over the place because it is just too great. And then I figured I do need to change the color of the ground a little bit, even though it does not really like blend in too well. It gives the creek a bit of a nicer color and blends in better with the water. It sometimes is a bit weird. You have to test this a little bit more to make it look a lot more realistic, but yeah, I mean, it's worth the effort, I guess, because then again you create something that also from the distance looks a bit more like a real proper creek, and if I would have blended that in, it would have looked a bit, I don't know, dull isn't the right word, but it would have looked a bit too much blended in and maybe too shallow. Maybe that's the word. Maybe it looks too shallow, and with the slight different color it gets a little bit more depth to it, because it looks almost like the water would catch the light and then create this blue tone to it, and that is mainly the reason why it is the way it is. Could be only guessing, but honestly it's just me trying to blend the colors as best as possible to achieve exactly this look. So yeah, you can see I'm now, and this is, as I said, for the next couple minutes, don't expect me to do anything else than throwing down some rocks here. It is really this kind of work that is defining this episode. Like, oh my god, I was putting down so many rocks. I was obviously using copy paste a little bit, but you know me too well that I don't really like this too much. So at the end I again put down some rocks manually to make sure it's not looking repetitive at all. I really do hate when things start to look repetitive, and I really need to make sure that I create some more unique patterns here and there to just make sure that, you know, the whole thing gets a characteristic. And yeah, at a certain point I started to be happy with how it just turns out. And you know, when I start to finally put down some foliage and to start paint things, you will see that this immediately starts to look like something unique and cool looking. I'm really pleased by how this turned out. Like, it really created exactly the feeling I wanted to have. It really looks like wilderness. It looks like this is just going into the national park and, you know, away from the valley, so that the animals can roam around free into the nature to go wherever they want to go, and that there is no limit to the zoo. I wanted to make this feel exactly this way, to make it feel free. And yeah, we are going to also bring in a gate in a few seconds, to make sure that the gate is also part of this habitat, because as soon as the gate is passed, the grizzly bear is in the free nature. Obviously, for the game itself, we will keep this gate open and the animals can go forth and back just to have some movement in there. But the idea, as I said last episode as well, is that as soon as they leave overall it is done. They are reintroduced into the nature, and we just hope that they will survive. Yeah, every now and then I just do some work for the context, that I was just putting down some of the tree formations I created to make sure that this looks a bit more finished, and it really adds to the immersion of the whole zoo. Now when we do have these trees here, just painted the ground a little bit more, and then you don't need to take too much into consideration the repetitiveness of the texture pattern, so that really helped a lot. But here you can see I'm just creating the little gap here for the for the gate, and I was just like figuring what exactly to do with the gate. But then I was like, okay, let's go with this style. And yeah, I'm overall just quite happy that it worked out exactly as I imagined that in my mind, because this is something I haven't done at all in the game. I also haven't seen so often in the game, and I did some research in the beginning, and to be fair, this is mainly the approach that is used on panda bears, how they do it in China and in Asia all over the place. That is exactly this way. They have a 3 faces model. And I thought that this is also applicable to bears, even though some of the grizzly bears could already go into this when they're in second lineage, or second, how's it called again? If this is the first area of offspring, like the first, but the panda bears don't go that well. So I thought, okay, let's go with the panda bear still, because that would potentially mean that the animals do better overall, because the idea is that your grizzly bears get offspring, and the offspring is then raised in an open area where there are no guests, and the keepers sometimes are even they are even hidden. They don't really give the food to them. They don't create a connection to the keeper. They just create a connection to the overall environment, and then they let them grow up. They let them develop their instincts back. They let them hunt. They let them smell blood and stuff. So, all these kind of things that they need to do in the wild, but they won't ever release them into the wild. They will basically then release their offspring into the wild and hope that they will redevelop. This is exactly how they do with the pandas, and I kind of think that this might be exactly the thing that you could do with the grizzly bears as well. I know, again, that there are some reintroduction programs about grizzlies that are a little bit more simple, that don't need these three stages, but, well, I think it just, for this project, it's even nicer. I don't know. And yeah, these animals that you don't take could also go back into phase 1 and then create new offspring, and you can mix and match and kind of, improve DNA, whatever you want to call it, but this is mainly how you would do it. Now, as we approach the end of today's video, I want to thank you guys again for supporting the channel. As always, a little reminder, actually the membership on my channel is now finally kind of done, that with some actual perks. So in case you are you're wondering, you can now join this channel as a member, and then you have some access to some Discord channels, some hidden ones and stuff like that. But yeah, you find it down there. I don't want to promote this too much. I just wanted to let you know, and there will be also some new emotes and badges in the future. But that's it for today. I really hope you enjoyed today's episode. I hope to see you in the next one, and until then, stay safe, have a good time everyone, and